All right, here's the Prime Minister.
I'd like to start today by speaking about new measures affecting Canadian travels. Before going into detail, I'd like to clarify a few things and give you a few reminders. The situation is complex, and everyone needs to understand the facts. First of all, for nearly a year now, Canada's borders have been closed to foreign travelers. What that means is that since last March, a French traveler or an American traveler cannot enter Canada for non-essential reasons. Moreover, we have a 2-week compulsory quarantine period that is required of travelers, and we now demand that a negative test result be provided for the return. The American government has just announced measures that are similar to what we took last March. Second of all, based on the data we have available, fewer than 2% of COVID-19 cases are linked to Canadians coming back to the country. This is proof that our current measures are working. However, as I've already said, even one case is a case too many, particularly now we must take into account new variants of the virus. Today, we are therefore announcing additional new measures to prevent these new variants from entering the country. You should know that our experts and scientists are very closely tracking these variants. We are taking this situation extremely seriously. Know also that we will always work to protect you.
We all need to do our part to keep ourselves, our loved ones, and our neighbors safe. That's every person, every business working together. And now, Canada's air carriers are stepping up to protect Canadians too. The government and Canada's main airlines have agreed to suspend service to sun destinations right away. Air Canada, WestJet, Sunwing, and Air Transat are cancelling air service to all Caribbean destinations and Mexico starting this Sunday up until April 30th. They will be making arrangements with their customers who are currently on a trip in these regions to organize their return flights. I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of Air Canada, WestJet, Sunwing, and Air Transat in making this commitment to suspend flights and be such strong partners in the fight to curb the spread of COVID-19 and its variants. We appreciate the work the Canadian Airlines and their frontline workers have done to make air travel safer and to bring Canadians home when this pandemic struck last spring. With the challenges we currently face with COVID-19, both here at home and abroad, we all agree that now is just not the time to be flying. By putting in place these tough measures now, we can look forward to a better time when we can all plan those vacations. Our government is committed to the safe restart and recovery of the Canadian travel and tourism sector as soon as conditions approve, ideally later this year. As part of this effort, the Government of Canada has committed to work with the major airlines on the future relationship between testing and quarantine requirements. This will enable the safe, gradual return to international air travel grounded in science and evidence. On top of these flight cancellations, we're bringing in other measures as well. Starting next week, all international passenger flights must land only at the following 4 airports: Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal. In addition to the pre-boarding test we already acquire, as soon as possible in the coming weeks, we will be introducing mandatory PCR testing at the airport for people returning to Canada. Travelers will then have to wait for up to 3 days at an approved hotel for their test results at their own expense, which is expected to be more than $2,000. Those with negative test results will then be able to quarantine at home under significantly increased surveillance and enforcement. Those with positive tests will be immediately required to quarantine in designated government facilities to make sure they're not carrying variants of potential concern. We will also, in the coming weeks, be requiring non-essential travelers to show a negative test before entry at the land border with the U.S., and we're working to stand up additional testing requirements for land travel.
Today, I can announce that as of Sunday, flights between Canada and southern destinations, specifically the Caribbean and the Mexico, will be suspended until April 30th. Air Canada, WestJet, Sunwing, and Air Transit have agreed to be part of the solution to protect the health and safety of Canadians. Moreover, as quickly as possible in February, we will be adding a second additional compulsory test at the airport for arriving passengers. As passengers await the results of that test, they will be required to wait in quarantine at their expense in a supervised hotel. That expense will be $2,000 per traveler. If these tests are negative, the travelers may remain at home in quarantine up to 14 days with increased surveillance. Anyone with a positive test will be sent to designated government facilities so that we can ensure they do not have the new variant. There are various logical and other reasons that force us to take these decisions, which are not made lightly. We will always take a rigorous approach to make informed, effective decisions that take into account all factors and their consequences. We have known since the beginning of the crisis, you have known since the beginning of this crisis, rather, that my priority is to protect Canadians. We must continue to work together. No one wants political battles because of the pandemic.